Oh no! Dad, please!
Darius's voice cracked as he grabbed his father's hand. Still warm but lifeless, the nurse gently pulled him back. "I'm sorry, son. He's gone." Darius stumbled backward, his vision blurring with tears. His father, the man who'd raised him alone after his mother died, the man who'd worked 3 jobs to put him through college, was dead. And Darius didn't even have enough money to pay for a proper funeral. Behind him, he heard a familiar laugh.
Broke boy couldn't even keep his daddy alive.
Darius turned slowly. Valencia stood in the hospital corridor, designer purse on her arm, fresh manicure gleaming under the fluorescent lights. The woman he'd planned to marry just 2 months ago. "What did you say?" His voice was barely a whisper. She smiled,
You heard
cruel
me.
and beautiful.
I dodged a
Something
bullet leaving
inside
you.
Darius
Look at you,
shattered in
can't
that
even afford
moment.
hospital bills.
Not just his heart,
Pathetic.
his faith in people, his belief that good things happen to good people. But what Darius didn't know, what nobody in that hospital corridor could have guessed, was that 5 years later, their paths would cross again. And when they did, Valencia would wish she'd never said those words. This is a story about pain, perseverance, and the sweetest kind of redemption. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications because this journey is going to blow your mind. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Darius Thompson hadn't always been broke. He just hadn't ever been rich either. He grew up in Southside Chicago in a small 3-bedroom apartment that smelled like his father's cooking and old books. His father, Robert Thompson, worked as a mechanic at a local auto shop. The pay was modest, but Robert stretched every dollar like it was elastic. His mother had died when he was 7. Cancer. Quick and merciless. After that, it was just him and his dad against the world. "We might not have much," Robert would say, ruffling Darius's hair, "but we've got each other. That's more than most people have." Their apartment was small but clean. The furniture was second-hand but comfortable. Dinner was usually simple: spaghetti, chicken and rice, beans and cornbread, but there was always enough. Robert worked long hours, sometimes pulling double shifts just to make sure Darius had school supplies and decent clothes. On paydays, they'd celebrate with pizza from the corner spot, sitting on their worn-out couch watching basketball. "One day," Robert would say during commercial breaks, "you're gonna make something of yourself. Go to college, get a real career, make me proud." "I will, Dad. I'm gonna take care of you one day." That promise became Darius's driving force. He worked hard in school, stayed out of trouble when half his neighborhood friends were getting caught up in gangs and drugs. While other kids were hanging on corners, Darius was in the library studying, applying for scholarships, dreaming of a better life. His breakthrough came senior year when he got accepted to the University of Illinois with a partial scholarship to study computer science. It wasn't a full ride, but it was something. Robert sold his beloved vintage motorcycle, the one he'd kept from his younger days, to help cover the remaining tuition. When Darius found out, he cried. "Dad, you didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Robert said firmly, gripping his son's shoulders. "Your education is an investment in our future. You're going to do big things, son." At university, Darius was surrounded by wealth he'd never imagined. Students drove BMWs their parents bought them for their birthdays. They wore designer clothes and went on spring break trips to Miami and Cancun. Darius wore the same rotation of 5 outfits, washed and reworn until the colors faded. He worked part-time at the campus IT help desk while carrying a full course load. When other students partied on weekends, Darius was in the computer lab, teaching himself advanced programming languages, Python, Java, cybersecurity protocols. There were nights he survived on ramen noodles and energy drinks because that's all his budget allowed. He never complained, never called his father asking for money he knew Robert didn't have. 4 years later, Darius graduated with honors and a computer science degree. He walked across that stage feeling like he was holding a golden ticket to a better life. He imagined landing a job at a major tech company, Google, Microsoft, maybe even Apple. He imagined himself in a nice apartment, driving a decent car, sending money home to his father who'd sacrificed everything. But reality hit hard. Months passed without a single job offer. Darius sent out hundreds of applications, attended dozens of interviews. The rejections came in polite, corporate language. "We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Your qualifications are impressive, but we're looking for someone with more experience. We'll keep your resume on file." His savings, the small graduation gifts from relatives, evaporated. He moved back into his father's apartment, sleeping on the same twin bed from his childhood. The shame of it ate him at daily. Darius never made him feel bad about it. "You'll find something, son. Keep the faith." Finally, after 8 brutal months, Darius got a call from a small tech startup called Bridgepoint Solutions. They needed someone to handle IT support and basic network maintenance. "We can offer you $42,000 a year. I know it's not much, but there's room for growth." 42,000 wasn't much in Chicago, especially not for someone with a degree and a mountain of skills. But it was something. "I'll take it," Darius said immediately. He showed up every day in his neatly pressed button-down shirts, the same 3 he rotated through the week. He fixed every computer issue like it was life or death. He stayed late without being asked. He treated every employee like they were the CEO. And it was during those struggling days that Valencia walked into his life. Darius met Valencia at his boy Marcus's birthday party in Bronzeville. She was stunning. Smooth brown skin, curves that defied physics, confidence that filled the entire room. When she laughed, everyone turned to look. Darius was shocked when she approached him near the drinks table. "You're the tech guy, right?" Valencia asked, her smile dazzling. "Marcus said you fixed his laptop last month." "Yeah, that's me," Darius replied, suddenly aware of how plain his outfit looked compared to everyone else's designer gear. "That's impressive. I respect a man who actually knows how to do something useful." They talked for over an hour. Valencia had studied business management at a community college, but hadn't landed a good job yet. She was staying with a friend while figuring things out. Within 2 months, Valencia had basically moved into Darius's tiny studio apartment in Pilsen. She didn't officially live there, but her stuff did. Suitcases full of clothes, makeup covering his bathroom counter, bottles of expensive perfume he definitely couldn't afford. At first, everything felt perfect. Valencia cooked soul food that made the apartment smell like home. Mac and cheese, fried chicken, collard greens. She would wait by the door when he heard his key, running to hug him when he came home from work. They'd eat dinner together, knees touching at his small table, talking about their future condo in downtown Chicago with floor-to-ceiling windows and a Lake Michigan view. "One day," Darius would say softly. "One day," Valencia would echo with a smile. But one day didn't pay for new bundles. One day didn't cover Uber rides to the Magnificent Mile to shop with her friends. One day didn't replace her cracked iPhone screen. Slowly, the warmth in Valencia's voice began to chill. "You know Terrell?" she asked one night, scrolling through Instagram while eating chips. "He was in your graduation class. He just got hired at some tech company downtown. They gave him a signing bonus and everything. Got a new Audi." Darius nodded quietly, stirring his instant ramen. "Good for him. My time will come." "Your time needs to hurry up," Valencia said, half joking, half serious. "I can't keep living like this, Darius." The comparisons multiplied. There was always a Terrell or a Brandon or some dude with a car and a salary that sounded impressive. Valencia's comments cut deeper each time, delivered with smiles that never reached her eyes. Darius absorbed it all patiently. He worked harder, took extra IT freelance jobs on weekends, saved every spare dollar. He told himself if he could just get promoted, if he could just make more money, Valencia would be happy again. Then came the Thursday that shattered everything. The office AC broke down, so Darius's boss sent everyone home early. Darius took the red line halfway, then walked the rest of the way to save the bus fare. He stopped at Harold's Chicken and bought a box, extra wings, the way Valencia liked them. He imagined her face lighting up. He unlocked his apartment door and immediately heard laughter, deep male laughter, too comfortable, too familiar. Darius's stomach dropped. He pushed the door open wider, A man in an expensive Nike tracksuit, gold chain gleaming, designer sneakers pristine, sat on the edge of Darius's bed. Valencia was there too, her wig off,
Hair and the bonnet she only wore when she felt completely at home. The man turned slowly toward Darius, first annoyed, then amused. "Oh," the man said, smirking, "you didn't say your roommate was coming back." Darius's jaw clenched. His voice came out low and controlled. "Get out." The man stood slowly, adjusting his chain. "Yo, relax, man, we just talking." "I said, leave, now." The man brushed past him deliberately, shoulder-checking Darius on purpose, then strolled out, leaving behind cologne that smelled like disrespect. When the door closed, silence swallowed the room. Valencia spoke first, her voice small. "Baby, it's not what you think." "What am I thinking?" Darius asked quietly, setting the chicken on the counter with a care that felt absurd. "He's just a friend helping me out with some money. I needed—" "So you brought him here? To our place?" Valencia's eyes darted around. "Where else was I supposed to meet him, Darius? I needed to fix my phone. I needed money for—" "Why didn't you ask me? I would have found a way." "That's the problem." Her voice rose suddenly. "You're always finding a way, but the way never comes. I needed new clothes for job interviews. You can't even give me money for the train sometimes." Darius slid down the wall until he was sitting on the cold floor. "So being broke is my crime?" Valencia dropped to her knees in front of him, grabbing his hands, tears appearing right on schedule. "No, baby, no. I love you. I made a mistake. It won't happen again. I swear on my mama." She collapsed against his chest, sobbing, and Darius, who'd learned patience from his father, who'd watched Robert sacrifice everything without complaint, eventually nodded. "Okay," he whispered. "I forgive you." For 2 weeks, peace returned. Valencia was attentive again, cooking his favorite meals, wearing his favorite dress, calling him "my king" loud enough for her friends to hear on FaceTime. Darius took longer routes home, avoiding shortcuts that might lead to more heartbreak. He focused on work, staying late to learn new tech skills, telling himself a promotion would fix everything. But the river of resentment found its way back. It started with small cruelties. "This shirt still looks wrinkled even though you ironed it." "Deshaun sends his girl money every Friday like clockwork. Do you even care about me?" "I can't eat spaghetti again, Darius. I'm tired." She started getting dressed up to see friends. Full makeup, expensive perfume, heels clicking. She kept her phone face down. When he asked gentle questions, she heard accusations. "So now you're checking up on me? Don't stress me out." Darius didn't yell. He'd never learned that language. He bought small gifts within his tiny budget. Lip gloss, hoop earrings, phone cards. They felt smaller every time she mentioned a friend's new designer bag or a weekend trip to Atlanta. "We'll get there," he'd say softly. "Together." She'd smile with just her lips. No warmth reached her eyes. The second time, Darius didn't catch her with someone. He caught the evidence. Cologne on their pillow, wrong scent, too masculine. A second toothbrush in the bathroom, blue with bristles still damp. When he asked, Valencia laughed. "Baby, you're tripping. My cousin stopped by yesterday. That's probably his." The lie wore no disguise. He let it pass and hated himself later. He started praying more at night, simple, raw prayers. "God, give me a better job. Give me strength. Don't let me become bitter." He apologized to his stomach when he skipped meals to save money. He apologized to his heart for continuing to hope. One evening, Darius came home with a small bag of groceries he'd bargained for at Aldi. Chicken, rice, canned vegetables. He found Valencia standing in front of their mirror wearing a tight dress that hugged every curve and a blonde wig that probably cost more than their rent. She looked absolutely breathtaking, which made his chest ache even more. "Where are you going?" he asked carefully. "Out. A friend's thing in River North." "Which friend?" She rolled her eyes. "Why are you always interrogating me? You're not my father." "You said friend. Is it a dude?" She turned to face him, irritation flashing.
Darius, don't start. I don't have the energy for your insecurity right now. He swallowed hard. Just text me when you get there, please. She kissed his cheek quickly, dismissive, like tipping a valet, then walked out, leaving behind cologne that smelled like rent and promises he couldn't afford. Darius cooked dinner for two that night. He ate alone, keeping Valencia's plate covered for hours just in case. She came home after midnight, laughter echoing down the hallway before she even reached the door. "How was it?" he asked quietly from the couch. "Fine." She kicked off her heels, tossed the wig on a chair. "You still up? Don't you have work tomorrow?" He stared at the bathroom where the blue toothbrush used to be. It was gone now. That night, Darius pulled out a small notebook and wrote, 1. Pray harder. 2. Learn cloud computing. 3. Update resume. 4. Love Valencia better somehow. 5. Don't give up. 6. Don't break. The list was a lifeline when everything felt like it was slipping away. Some days were good. Valencia would laugh at his jokes, real laughter that reminded him why he'd fallen for her. She'd hug him from behind while he washed dishes and whisper, "My tech genius, one day you're going to shock everybody." They'd walk to the corner store at sunset, holding hands, promising each other better days were coming. Darius carried those moments like treasures, but the bad days came more often. The slights sharpened. "If you really loved me, you wouldn't let me struggle like this. How do I face my girls when their men are doing big things? You're too comfortable being small, Darius." She'd block him on social media after arguments, then unblock hours later with a casual "GN babe," as if erasing a message erased the wound. Darius didn't yell. He'd never learned that language. He bought small gifts within his tiny budget: lip gloss, hoop earrings, phone cards. They felt smaller every time she mentioned a friend's new designer bag or a weekend trip to Atlanta. "We'll get there," he'd say softly. "Together." She'd smile with just her lips. No warmth reached her eyes. One Saturday, while the neighbor's music thumped through the thin walls, Valencia sat on the bed looking serious. "Darius, we need to talk." His stomach tightened. "I'm tired," she said bluntly. "This struggle, this lifestyle, I can't do it anymore. I need more. I deserve more." "You deserve everything good. Just give me a little more time, please." She looked at his hands, hard-working, gentle, broke, and looked away. "Okay," she finally said, though doubt dripped from her voice. "But things gotta change soon." He promised they would, even though he had no idea how. That night, Darius updated his list. 1. Find extra work. 2. Save for Valencia's phone. 3. Build better portfolio. 4. Trust God's timing. 5. Don't lose yourself. 2 weeks later, Darius landed a side gig doing IT work for a small charter school. The hours were brutal, but he used the extra money to buy a refurbished iPhone. He stayed up all night making sure it worked perfectly. When he gave it to Valencia, she squealed and threw her arms around him, immediately posting on Instagram, "My man came through." For one shining moment, Darius felt like he'd won. But even victories with paper foundations eventually crumble. 3 months later, Darius had saved enough for something he'd been dreaming about for weeks. He went to a small jewelry store in Hyde Park and bought a silver ring with cubic zirconia stone. It wasn't a real diamond, but to Darius, it represented everything. Months of skipped meals, double shifts, relentless hope. He pictured the moment perfectly. Valencia's eyes going wide with joy, her hands flying to her mouth, tears streaming, the yes that would change everything. Maybe this would prove he was worth waiting for. Darius chose a Saturday afternoon at Water Tower Place, one of Chicago's busiest malls. He wore his cleanest shirt, pressed until it was crisp, and his best jeans. His hands shook as he walked through the entrance. Valencia arrived looking absolutely stunning in a red bodycon dress that stopped traffic. Her makeup was flawless, her hair laid to perfection. She looked like she belonged in a magazine. "Damn, you look beautiful," Darius said softly. She smiled. "You clean up nice yourself." They walked through the mall hand in hand, past stores selling diamond jewelry, designer perfume, clothes Darius couldn't afford. His heart pounded harder with every step. At the food court, Darius led Valencia to a table right in the center where dozens of people were eating, talking, scrolling phones. Curious eyes glanced their way. "Why are we sitting here and all these people?" Valencia asked, looking around. "Let's just grab food and bounce." Darius took a deep breath. This was it. He dropped to one knee. Conversations around them began to slow. Phones came up, recording. People nudged their friends, pointing and smiling. Darius pulled out the small velvet box and opened it.
The cubic zirconia caught the light. "Valencia," he began, voice trembling with emotion. "From the day I met you, my life changed. You made me believe in love. I know I don't have much right now. I know things have been hard. But I promise you with everything in me, I'm going to work every day to give you the life you deserve. Will you marry me?" The crowd smiled, phones recording what they thought would be a beautiful moment. But Valencia's face didn't light up with joy. It froze. Her eyes darted around at all the people watching, at all the cameras pointed at them. "Darius, get up," she hissed under her breath. He blinked, confused. "What?" "Get up!" Her voice was sharp now. "Valencia, I'm serious. I love you. Just say yes." Her voice rose through the food court like a knife. "I can't marry you, Darius." The smiles around them died into shocked silence. "You're a good man," she continued, her words echoing in the suddenly quiet space. "But I can't settle for struggle. I need someone who's financially stable. I can't suffer in my mama's house just to suffer in a husband's house. I'm sorry, but hell no." Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Damn, she said no. That's cold. Poor dude." Darius stayed on one knee for what felt like forever, the ring box trembling in his hand. Humiliation washed over him in burning waves. Slowly, he stood, closed the box, forced a smile that never touched his eyes. "I understand," he said quietly. He turned and walked away, leaving Valencia standing there in her perfect red dress, in front of all those recording phones, in front of all those strangers who'd witnessed his destruction. By the time Darius reached his apartment, the video had already started spreading across social media. You feeling Darius's pain right now? Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what you're thinking, because what happens next is going to absolutely blow your mind. Don't go anywhere. 2 days after the mall incident, Valencia showed up at Darius's door. She looked calmer, almost rehearsed. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. Darius stepped aside without a word. She sat on his worn couch, hands folded in her lap. "Darius, I do love you. I really do. But love alone can't pay bills." He said nothing. "I've been seeing someone else," she continued, not meeting his eyes. "His name is Kendrick. He owns a car dealership. He's established. We're getting married soon." The words hit Darius like punches. "So that's why you said no," he said quietly. She nodded. "I'm from the hood, Darius. I can't marry back into the hood. I've struggled my whole life. I need a man who can provide. I can't suffer twice." The finality in her voice was unmistakable. "I wish you the best," she said, standing and adjusting her purse. "I really do." And then she left. That was the last time Darius Thompson saw Valencia Martinez, or so he thought. The days after Valencia's final visit blurred into one endless gray nightmare. Darius moved through life like a ghost. The walls of his studio apartment seemed to press closer every day. He stopped opening the blinds. Sunlight felt offensive. At Bridgepoint Solutions, his coworkers noticed immediately. "Yo, D, you good?" his colleague Jerome asked. Darius forced a smile. "Yeah, man, I'm straight." But he wasn't straight. The mall video had gone viral. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, strangers were commenting, "This why you don't propose when you're broke, scrubbed. She did the right thing, nobody trying to struggle. My girl would have said yes, but I feel her pain though." Darius deleted all his social media. He stopped answering calls from friends who'd seen it. Shame wrapped around him like chains. Food lost all taste. Days passed before he realized he hadn't eaten real meals. His father called from Chicago. "Son, you all right? You sound different." "I'm good, Pops. Just busy with work." One Thursday night, Darius walked home from work in the pouring rain because he didn't want to spend money on the train. His clothes stuck to him, cold and heavy. He dropped his soaked backpack on the floor and sat on his bed staring at nothing. The rain outside was relentless, almost hypnotic. Dark thoughts crept in. What was the point? His career was stagnant. His love life had ended in public humiliation. The future felt like a cruel joke. By 10 o'clock that night, Darius found himself walking. He didn't plan where he was going. His feet just carried him through wet streets until he ended up on the Clark Street Bridge over the Chicago River. The city sprawled out in glittering lights. Cars rushed past. The dark water below looked cold and final. One step, Darius thought. Just one step, and all this pain stops. He thought about his father. Would Robert be disappointed or relieved his son wasn't suffering anymore? He thought about Valencia's words, "I can't suffer twice." He thought about the faces in the mall, the pity, the phones recording his destruction for entertainment. Darius's foot moved forward toward the edge. "Hey, young man!" A voice cut through the rain and traffic. Darius turned slightly. An older black man in a taxi driver's jacket stood a few feet away, holding an umbrella. Rain drummed against it steadily. "You okay, son?" the man asked, his face lined with genuine concern. "I'm fine, sir." Darius tried to smile. "Nah, you ain't fine." The man stepped closer, shaking his head. "I've seen that look before. I know what it means." Darius's throat tightened. "Listen to me," the man said, his voice gentle but firm. "Your story ain't over. This right here, this ain't the end. This is just a bend in the road." Tears mixed with rain on Darius's face. "Don't let somebody else's choice be the reason you end your life. That woman who hurt you, she don't get that power. You hear me? There's more ahead for you than you can see right now." The words cut through the fog in Darius's mind. "Go home," the man urged. "Eat something. Rest. Tomorrow morning, you start again, one step at a time." Darius looked at this stranger, this taxi driver, with no reason to stop, no reason to care, and something inside him broke open. "Thank you," Darius whispered. The man smiled faintly. "When you make it big one day, and you will, remember tonight. Remember, God still got plans for you." Darius nodded, stepped back from the edge, and let out a long, shaky breath. That night, he walked home through the rain, clothes soaked completely through, but his steps felt different. Lighter somehow. The darkness was still there, but now there was also a thin thread of hope. He didn't know it yet, but the bend in the road was closer than he imagined. The next morning, Darius awoke to gray light filtering through his window. His rain-soaked clothes still lay in a heap. For the first time in weeks, he didn't roll over and go back to sleep. The taxi driver's words echoed. "This is just a bend in the road." Darius sat up slowly. His body felt heavy, but there was something else, a stubborn flicker of determination. He made instant coffee and opened his battered laptop. The screen had a crack, the keys were worn, but it worked. He started updating his resume. That afternoon, while fixing a server issue at Bridgepoint Solutions, Darius's phone buzzed. The name on the screen made him pause. Jamal, his former classmate from University of Illinois. They hadn't spoken in over a year. "Jamal, what's good?" Darius answered, trying to sound upbeat. "D, I've been trying to reach you forever. Where you been?" "Just working, surviving." Jamal laughed warmly. "Listen, my company is expanding. We need a solid IT person who knows infrastructure and cybersecurity. First person I thought of was you."
Darius almost dropped his coffee. You serious? Dead serious. It's a senior role. Salary's real nice too. Like really nice. Send me your resume today. Interviews next week, but I'll put in a word with HR so they take you seriously.
When the call ended, Darius stood frozen for a moment. Then, with a surge of adrenaline, he emailed his updated resume immediately. 1 week later, Darius stood outside the glass headquarters of Apex Tech Solutions in downtown Chicago, adjusting the collar of a blazer Jamal had let him borrow. This building was nothing like the cramped offices he was used to. The lobby had polished marble floors, modern art on the walls, and elevator doors that reflected his nervous face. The interview panel consisted of 3 people: a sharp-eyed woman in a navy suit, a bearded man with an expensive watch, and a younger guy typing constantly on a MacBook. They fired technical questions at him for 45 minutes straight. System architecture, cyber threat assessment, network protocols, database security. Darius's palms were slightly sweaty, but his mind was razor sharp. He answered each question with calm precision, drawing from countless nights teaching himself advanced skills. When they asked about problem solving, Darius told them about creating a custom security patch that had saved his current company from a potential data breach. The bearded man leaned back and smiled. Impressive work. By the time Darius left the building, he felt strangely calm. He hadn't been perfect, but he'd shown them what he could do. 3 days later, the call came. Mr. Thompson, this is HR from Apex Tech Solutions. We're pleased to offer you the position of Senior IT Systems Manager. Your starting salary will be $95,000 annually, plus benefits, bonuses, and stock options. Can you start in 2 weeks? For a moment, Darius couldn't speak. His throat had completely closed. Yes, he finally managed. Yes, I can start. When he hung up, Darius sat on his bed in stunned silence. Then slowly, the first real smile in months spread across his face. This was it, the bend in the road, the beginning of everything.
5 years later, Darius Thompson stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse in the Gold Coast neighborhood, watching the Chicago skyline glitter against the evening sky. Lake Michigan stretched out dark and endless in the distance, boats leaving white trails across the water. He held a glass of whiskey, not the cheap stuff he used to buy from the corner store, but 18-year-old Macallan that cost more than his old monthly rent. His phone buzzed. A text from his assistant. Meeting with the investors moved to 3 p.m. tomorrow. Your Tesla's charged and ready in the garage. Darius smiled slightly and set his phone down on the marble countertop. This life, this reality he was living, still felt surreal sometimes. But let me take you back and show you exactly how Darius went from that broken young man on the bridge to the man standing in a $1 million penthouse. Because the journey, that's where the real story is. Darius's first few months at Apex Tech Solutions were intense. He threw himself into the work with an almost obsessive focus. While other employees clocked out at 5 sharp, Darius stayed late, learning new systems, finding inefficiencies, proposing solutions nobody had thought of. His supervisors noticed quickly. "Thompson, excellent work on that network overhaul," his manager Patricia said one Friday. "You've got real vision." Within 6 months, Darius was leading a small team of IT specialists. Within a year, his salary had jumped to $130,000. He moved out of his cramped Pilsen studio into the nice 2-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Park with actual space to breathe. He bought his first real car and used Audi A4 that felt like a spaceship compared to taking the red line everywhere. But Darius didn't stop there. He started reading everything he could about building wealth, real estate investment, stock market strategies, cryptocurrency, business development. He spent weekends at seminars and workshops while his coworkers were at bars and clubs. He studied the Chicago real estate market obsessively. Which neighborhoods were gentrifying, which properties were undervalued, where the smart money was moving. By his second year at Apex Tech, Darius had saved enough to buy his first investment property, a small 3-flat in Bronzeville. He rented out 2 units and lived in the third. 6 months later, he sold it for a 40% profit. Then he bought more properties, a condo in Wicker Park, a 2-flat in Pilsen, then a whole apartment building in Austin. But Darius's real breakthrough came when he started dabbling in cryptocurrency. It was 2017, and Bitcoin was starting to explode. Most people thought it was a scam or a fad, but Darius, who understood technology better than most, saw something different. He saw the future. He invested cautiously at first, $5,000 when Bitcoin was at $3,000, then more when Ethereum was still cheap. He learned about blockchain technology, studied white papers, joined online communities of developers and investors. When people laughed at internet money, Darius was quietly building a portfolio. By 2020, his crypto investments had multiplied 15 times over. By 2021, during the massive bull run, Darius had made over $2 million. He didn't quit his job at Apex. He was too smart for that. Instead, he got promoted to VP of Technology, pulling in $250,000 a year, plus bonuses and stock options. But his real wealth was growing outside the 9-to-5. By his third year post-Valencia, Darius's life looked completely different. He moved into a stunning penthouse in the Gold Coast with panoramic views of Lake Michigan and the Chicago skyline. The place had 3 bedrooms, marble everything, a chef's kitchen he barely used, and a balcony where he could watch the sunrise over the water. His garage held 3 cars, a black Tesla Model S, a silver Porsche 911 for weekends, and a white Range Rover when he wanted to feel like a boss. His closet was filled with tailored suits, designer shoes, and watches that cost more than his old annual salary.
He attended exclusive networking events with CEOs and venture capitalists. He invested in startups. He sat on advisory boards. Money was no longer something that stressed him. It was a tool he'd mastered. But despite all the luxury, Darius stayed grounded. He remembered what hunger felt like. He remembered counting quarters to buy ramen. He remembered the taste of his father's cheap spaghetti made with love. He donated regularly to Southside youth programs. He mentored young black men from his old neighborhood, helping them learn tech skills and avoid the streets. He never forgot where he came from. But there was one more piece missing from Darius's life. Her name was Simone Harris. Darius met Simone Harris at a tech conference in 2019. She was a corporate attorney for a major law firm, brilliant and beautiful, with natural hair she wore in twist-outs and box braids. She had deep brown skin, an infectious laugh, and a mind that kept Darius on his toes. They'd been talking by the coffee station when she asked, "So what's your story? And don't give me the LinkedIn version. Give me the real one." Darius had smiled. He told her about growing up on the South Side, about his father working multiple jobs, about struggling after college, about the heartbreak that almost broke him. He didn't mention Valencia by name, but he was honest about the pain. "And look at you now," Simone said softly, her eyes warm with understanding. "That's a testimony right there." They started dating a month later. Simone was there when Darius's crypto portfolio first hit $1 million. She was there when he bought his penthouse. She was there through the late nights when he was stressed about investments and business decisions. She never asked him for anything, never compared him to other men, never made him feel like he wasn't enough. "I'm proud of you," she'd tell him, lying in his arms on lazy Sunday mornings. "Not because of your money, because of your heart. You stayed kind even after everything tried to make you bitter." Darius was planning to propose to Simone soon. He'd already bought the ring, a flawless 2-carat diamond, nothing cheap this time. He was planning something special, intimate, meaningful. Maybe a rooftop dinner overlooking the city, just the 2 of them. Life was good. Better than good. But fate had one more twist waiting. It was a scorching Saturday afternoon in July 2023. Chicago was in the middle of a brutal heat wave, the kind that made the pavement shimmer and the air feel thick enough to chew. Darius had just finished a business lunch at a high-end restaurant in the Loop, grilled salmon and a glass of expensive wine that he barely touched because he had a meeting later. He stepped out into the blazing heat, adjusting his designer sunglasses. His black Tesla was parked nearby at a meter, its sleek surface gleaming in the sun. Darius walked toward it, his mind already on his next appointment with a potential real estate partner. Then he heard it. A voice. Faint, desperate, broken. "Please, spare anything. My babies are hungry." Darius paused mid-step. Something about that voice made his chest tighten. He turned slowly. Just a few feet away, sitting on the hot concrete near a storefront, was a woman. Two small children, twins, maybe 3 years old, sat on either side of her. They wore dirty, mismatched clothes. Their hair was unkempt, faces smudged with dirt. The woman's head was bented, covered by a faded scarf. Her clothes were worn thin and stained. Her hands, once manicured and perfect, were now rough and empty, reaching out to passers-by who walked past without looking. But it was her voice that stopped Darius cold. "Please, help us. Anything you can spare." Darius's heart started pounding. That voice. He knew that voice. He moved slowly, like approaching something fragile that might shatter. The woman looked up. Time stopped. Valencia. Her eyes, once bright and full of confidence, were now hollow and exhausted. Her face was gaunt, cheekbones too prominent. Her skin had lost its glow. Her lips were cracked from dehydration. But there was absolutely no mistaking her. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The Chicago street noise continued around them, cars honking, people talking on phones, the distant wail of a siren. But in that moment, everything else faded into silence. "Darius!" Valencia whispered, her voice cracking with disbelief. He removed his sunglasses, slowly, looking directly at her. His expression was unreadable. Not angry, not happy, just processing. "Valencia." She glanced down at herself, at her dirty clothes, at her barefoot children, at the concrete she was sitting on, and shame flooded her face like a wave. Tears immediately started forming. You look..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Her eyes traveled from his tailored suit to his designer watch to the Tesla behind him with its custom plates. "I look good," Darius finished for her, his voice calm. "And you look like you've been through hell." Valencia's face crumpled. She nodded, unable to hold back the tears anymore. "What happened?" Darius asked simply. She wiped her face with trembling hands. Everything fell apart." Darius glanced at the twins, who stared up at him with wide, innocent eyes, hungry eyes. Then he looked back at Valencia. His mind flashed back to 5 years ago, the mall, the rejection, the humiliation, her words, "I can't suffer twice." He could walk away right now, get in his Tesla and drive off. Let karma do its work. Nobody would blame him. But that's not who Darius Thompson was. "Get up," he said firmly. "What?" "Get up, bring the kids. You're coming with me." She hesitated, confusion and disbelief warring on her face. After everything I did to you, you'd help me?" Darius's jaw tightened slightly. "I don't pay evil with evil. Now get up before I change my mind." Valencia struggled to stand, her legs shaky from malnutrition and exhaustion. She gathered the twins, one on each hip, and followed Darius to his Tesla. The contrast was jarring. This gleaming luxury vehicle worth over $100,000, and this broken woman with barefoot children. As Valencia settled into the soft leather seats, cool air conditioning washing over her and the kids, she looked around in stunned silence. The car smelled like new leather and expensive cologne. The dashboard looked like something from a spaceship. This is your car?" she whispered. "One of them," Darius said simply, starting the engine with a whisper-quiet hum. Valencia's hands trembled in her lap as the reality of the situation sunk in. Y'all, can you imagine what's going through Valencia's mind right now? The man she rejected, the man she humiliated, is now the one saving her? Drop a like and comment if you're feeling this story, and keep watching, because what happens next is crazy. The drive from downtown to Darius's penthouse in Gold Coast was silent, except for the soft hum of the Tesla's electric motor and the quiet breathing of the exhausted twins in the back seat. Valencia kept stealing glances at Darius, at his strong jawline, at his confident posture, at the expensive watch on his wrist that probably cost more than a year of her old rent. This wasn't the same struggling man she'd left behind. This was someone completely different, someone powerful, someone successful, someone she'd thrown away. When they pulled up to the luxury high-rise building, a valet immediately approached. "Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson," the valet said with a respectful smile, opening Darius's door. "Afternoon, Marcus. Just taking some guests up. I'll need the car back in about an hour." "Of course, sir." Valencia climbed out slowly, still carrying the twins. She stared up at the gleaming glass tower that seemed to touch the sky. This is where he lived? Inside the lobby, marble floors stretched in every direction. Modern art hung on the walls. A massive chandelier sparkled overhead. The security guard behind the desk nodded respectfully. "Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson." "Afternoon, Derek." They stepped into a private elevator. Darius pressed the button for the penthouse level, the top floor.
Valencia watched the numbers climb, her heart pounding harder with each floor. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. The elevator doors opened directly into Darius's penthouse. Valencia's breath caught in her throat. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a panoramic view of Chicago, Lake Michigan stretching out blue and endless, the skyline glittering in the afternoon sun, boats leaving white trails across the water. The penthouse was stunning. Modern furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine, a chef's kitchen with marble countertops, hardwood floors that gleamed, art on the walls that was definitely not from Home Goods. "Oh my God," Valencia whispered, tears starting again. "Darius, this is home," he finished simply. One of the twins started whimpering, probably overwhelmed and hungry. Darius pulled out his phone and pressed a number. "Hey Maria, it's Darius. I need you to come up for a bit. I have some guests who need help." "Yes, now if possible." "Thanks." He turned to Valencia. "My housekeeper is coming. She'll help you and the kids get cleaned up. There's a guest bathroom down that hall with a shower. Maria will bring clothes." "Darius, Save it," he said, his tone not harsh, but firm. "Get yourself and those babies cleaned up first, then we'll talk." 20 minutes later, Maria, a kind, older Latina woman, had taken the twins to get bathed, while Valencia stood under the hot water of the guest shower, crying silently. This bathroom alone was bigger than her old bedroom. The shower had multiple heads and water pressure that felt like heaven. There were expensive soaps and shampoos, fluffy towels that probably cost more than her entire outfit. Valencia looked down at her rough hands, her dirty fingernails, her body that had lost too much weight from too many missed meals. How had she ended up here? How had her life fallen so far? When she emerged 20 minutes later, Maria had laid out clean clothes, a simple but nice dress, underwear still in the package, even shoes that fit perfectly. The twins were clean now too, wearing little outfits that Maria had somehow found. Their faces were scrubbed, their hair combed. They looked like completely different children.
Valencia found Darius in the living room, standing by those massive windows with his back to her, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city he'd conquered. "Thank you," Valencia said softly. He turned slowly. "Sit. We need to talk." She sat on the edge of his designer couch, hands folded in her lap like a child about to be scolded. The twins played quietly on the floor with some toys Maria had given them. "Talk," Darius said. His voice wasn't angry, but it wasn't warm either. It was neutral. "Tell me what happened." Valencia took a shaky breath and began. "After I left you," she started, her voice barely above a whisper, "I married Kendrick like I told you I would, the man with the car dealership." Darius nodded silently, his face unreadable. "At first, everything was perfect. We had a nice house in Naperville, nice cars. I had credit cards, a closet full of designer clothes. I thought I'd made it. I thought I'd made the right choice." Her voice cracked. "But 2 years into the marriage, everything fell apart. Kendrick got arrested." Darius raised his eyebrow slightly but said nothing. "He was running a huge fraud scheme, fake car loans, identity theft, money laundering. The FBI raided our house. They took everything, the cars, the house, the bank accounts, everything." She wiped her face roughly. "Kendrick's in federal prison now, 20-year sentence, and I was left with nothing, absolutely nothing." "What about family?" Valencia shook her head bitterly. "My family? They turned their backs on me, said I was too bougie, too good for them when I had money. So when I fell, they told me I made my bed and could lie in it." "And the twins?" "They're Kendrick's. I found out I was pregnant right before he got arrested. I had them alone. No support, no insurance, no nothing." She looked at Darius with desperate eyes. "I tried, Darius, I really tried. I applied for jobs, but nobody wanted to hire someone whose husband was a federal criminal. I lost our house. I ended up in a shelter for a while, but they kicked me out after 3 months. I've been on the streets for the past 6 months, just trying to keep my babies alive. Some days we don't eat. Some nights we sleep in bus stations or under bridges. I panhandle just to buy them McDonald's or milk. She broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. "I'm so sorry, Darius. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I was stupid and greedy and shallow. I thought money was everything. I thought struggle was the worst thing that could happen, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." The twins looked up at their mother crying, confused and scared. Darius sat there silently for a long moment, watching this broken woman who had once broken him. He remembered them all, the rejection, the video going viral, the humiliation that had nearly driven him to jump off a bridge. He remembered her words, "I can't suffer twice." And now here she was, suffering in ways she'd never imagined. Part of him, the hurt part, the part that still carried scars, wanted to feel satisfaction, wanted her to feel at least a fraction of the pain she'd caused him. But Darius Thompson had learned something important over the past 5 years. Success isn't about revenge. It's about becoming someone better than the pain that tried to destroy you. "Stop crying," he said finally, his voice gentle. "You're scaring the kids." Valencia looked up, wiping her face. "Here's what's going to happen," Darius continued. "You and the twins are going to stay in my guest room tonight. Maria will make sure you have food and anything else you need. Tomorrow, we'll figure out next steps." "Darius, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will." That evening, Valencia sat at Darius's dining table, a massive piece of dark wood that probably cost more than a car, eating real food for the first time in weeks. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, rice, salad. The twins ate like they'd never seen food before, their little faces covered in sauce. Valencia tried to eat slowly, tried to maintain some dignity, but hunger won. She ate 2 full plates while Darius watched quietly. Thank you so much," she kept saying between bites. After dinner, Maria put the twins to bed in the guest room, while Valencia stood on the balcony with Darius, looking out at the Chicago skyline lit up against the night sky. "This view," she whispered. "It's incredible." "Yeah, it is," Darius agreed. "This could have been mine," she said quietly, almost to herself. "This life,
This man. All of it. Darius looked at her. Could have. But you made a choice. She nodded, tears falling again. The worst choice of my life. They stood in silence for a moment, the warm summer air wrapping around them, the sound of the city humming below. Can I ask you something? She said softly. What? Why are you helping me? After everything I did to you, the way I treated you, the way I embarrassed you, why would you help me? Darius was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. Because I'm not who I used to be, and I'm definitely not who you used to be. You taught me something important, Valencia. You taught me that people will judge you based on what you have instead of who you are, and for a long time, that hurt me. He turned to face her fully. But then I realized something. Your rejection wasn't about me. It was about you, about what you valued, about what you thought mattered.
Valencia looked down, unable to meet his eyes. I could have become bitter, Darius continued. I could have spent the rest of my life hating women, or hating myself, or thinking I wasn't good enough. But I chose a different path. I chose to become better, to become successful, not to prove you wrong, but to prove to myself that I was worth more than how you saw me. His voice softened. So when I saw you on that street today, broke and desperate with your babies, I didn't see revenge. I saw someone who needed help. And I decided a long time ago that success means having the power to help, not the power to hurt back. Valencia was crying openly now. You're a better person than I ever was. Maybe, Darius said. Or maybe I just learned my lessons the hard way. He pulled an envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. What's this? She asked. Open it. With trembling fingers, Valencia opened the envelope. Inside was a thick stack of $100 bills. She gasped. There's $10,000 in there, Darius said calmly. Darius, I can't. Yes, you can, and you will. That money is going to help you get back on your feet. But there are conditions. She looked up at him, nodding through tears. First, Darius said, holding up a finger, this money doesn't go to bail out Kendrick or communicate with him or anything like that. He made his choices. This is for you and your kids. Understood? Yes, Valencia whispered. Second, tomorrow I'm taking you to look at a small apartment, something clean and safe in a decent neighborhood. I'm paying 6 months rent up front. That gives you time to find a job and get stable. Valencia covered her mouth, sobbing. Third, Darius continued, his voice getting firmer, I have a friend who owns a marketing firm. She's looking for administrative help. It's not glamorous, but it pays decent, and it's honest work. You'll start next week. Darius, and fourth, he said, his voice getting firmer, you're going to use this chance wisely. You're going to work hard, take care of your kids, build something real. You're not going to waste this opportunity chasing the next man with money or looking for shortcuts. You understand me? Valencia nodded vigorously. I promise. I swear, I promise. Good. Darius looked back out at the city. I'm not doing this because I still have feelings for you. I don't. I'm doing this because I refuse to become the kind of person who watches someone suffer when I have the power to help. He turned to her one final time. But understand this, Valencia. This is it. This is me helping you get back on your feet one time. After this, you're on your own. What you build from here is on you. I'm not your savior. I'm not your backup plan. I'm just someone who chose kindness over bitterness. Valencia nodded, understanding completely. Thank you. I don't deserve this, but thank you. You're right. You don't deserve it, but your kids do. They didn't ask to be born into this situation. So I'm doing it for them. That night, Valencia lay in the guest bed of Darius's penthouse, her twin sleeping peacefully beside her for the first time in months. They were clean, fed, safe, and warm. She stared at the ceiling, tears streaming down her face into the expensive pillowcase. She thought about the mall 5 years ago,
about rejecting Darius in front of all those people, about choosing Kendrick's money over Darius's heart. She thought about the life she could have had if she'd said yes, if she'd been patient, if she'd believed in the struggling man instead of chasing the established one. This penthouse could have been hers. This view could have been hers. This man, this incredible, successful, kind man, could have been hers. But she'd thrown it all away because she was too focused on the moment instead of the potential. Too focused on what someone had instead of who they were becoming. Regret wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. She knew it would never truly leave. 3 weeks had passed since Darius had found Valencia on the street. True to his word, he'd set her up in a modest but clean 2-bedroom apartment in Rogers Park. Nothing fancy, but safe, with a small playground nearby for the twins. He paid 6 months' rent up front and made sure she had basic furniture, kitchen supplies, and everything she needed to start over. He also connected her with his friend Keisha, who owned a digital marketing agency. Valencia started as a receptionist, making $40,000 a year. Not much, but honest work with room to grow. The first 2 weeks were hard. Valencia wasn't used to working a 9 to 5. She wasn't used to taking orders or being humble. But the memory of sleeping on the street with her hungry babies kept her focused. She showed up early every day, answered phones professionally, learned the computer systems, kept her head down, and worked hard. Keisha noticed. "You're doing good, Valencia. Keep it up." Those words meant more than any designer bag ever had. In the evenings, Valencia would pick up the twins from the daycare Darius had helped her find, make them dinner in her small kitchen, and put them to bed. Then she'd sit on her second-hand couch in her modest living room and think about how much her life had changed. She'd lost everything: the mansion, the cars, the designer clothes, the status. But she was gaining something she'd never had before: self-respect. One Saturday morning, Valencia was at the park with the twins when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" "It's me." She froze. She'd know that voice anywhere. "Kendrick?" "Yeah, baby. I'm calling from prison. I finally got phone privileges." Valencia's stomach tightened. "How did you get this number?" "I have my ways." "Listen, baby, I need your help. I need you to put some money on my books." "No." Silence on the other end. "What you mean, no?" Kendrick's voice hardened. "I mean, no, Kendrick. I don't have money to send you. I'm barely making it myself." "What?" He sounded genuinely shocked. "What you mean you barely making it? Where's all the money from the house, the cars?" "The FBI took everything, Kendrick, everything. I've been homeless. Me and your kids was sleeping on the street until..." "Until what?" Valencia hesitated. "An old friend," she said carefully. "An old friend? What old friend has money to help you out like that?" "It doesn't matter. The point is, I can't help you. I'm starting over. I have a job, an apartment, and I'm taking care of our kids. That's all I can do right now." "So you just gonna leave me in here?" Kendrick's voice rose. "After everything I did for you? After I gave you that life? The life you built on fraud. The life that wasn't even real. I'm sorry you're in there, Kendrick. I really am. But I have to focus on our children now. They need stability, not another crisis." "You know what?" Kendrick's voice turned cold. "You just like all these other females. Soon as a brother goes down, y'all bounce. You fake as hell, Valencia." "Maybe I am, but I'm trying to be better. Goodbye, Kendrick." She hung up and blocked the number. For a moment, she just sat there on the park bench watching her twins play on the swings, her hands trembling. But then she took a deep breath and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: freedom.
Meanwhile, Darius's life continued to flourish. His tech consulting business was booming. His real estate portfolio had grown to include properties in 3 states. His crypto investments had made him a multi-millionaire several times over. But the thing that made him happiest had nothing to do with money. On a beautiful Saturday evening in September, Darius took Simone to the rooftop of his penthouse building. He'd arranged for a private dinner: candles, roses, her favorite food prepared by a personal chef, soft music playing. The Chicago skyline glowed in the evening light. the sun setting over Lake Michigan in shades of orange and pink. "Darius, this is beautiful," Simone said, her eyes shining. "What's the occasion?" He took her hand and got down on one knee. Simone's breath caught. "Simone Harris," Darius began, his voice steady but full of emotion. "5 years ago, I was at the lowest point in my life. I'd been publicly humiliated, I was broke, I was broken. I almost gave up on everything." Tears formed in Simone's eyes. "But God had a different plan. He brought me through that storm and taught me what really matters. And then he brought you into my life, a woman who sees me for who I am, not what I have. A woman who challenges me, supports me, and loves me genuinely." He pulled out a ring box and opened it. A flawless 3-carat diamond sparkled in the candlelight. "Will you marry me?" "Yes!" Simone cried, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, yes, yes!" Darius stood and slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a deep kiss as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in gold. This was real love, built on respect, trust, and genuine connection, not on bank accounts or status symbols. This was the life he'd worked for. Valencia heard about the engagement through social media 2 weeks later. She was scrolling through Instagram during her lunch break when she saw the photo. Darius in a suit, Simone in an elegant dress, both of them glowing with happiness. The caption reading, "She said yes. Can't wait to spend forever with this queen." Valencia stared at the photo for a long time. Simone was beautiful. Natural hair, genuine smile, professional, accomplished. The kind of woman who didn't need a man's money because she had her own. The kind of woman Valencia should have been. She felt a deep ache in her chest. Not jealousy exactly, but profound regret. That could have been her. That happiness, that love, that partnership, it could have all been hers if she'd made different choices. But she'd chosen status over substance, flash over foundation, money over meaning. And now she was watching from the outside as Darius lived the life she'd rejected. Valencia closed Instagram and put her phone away. There was no point dwelling on what could have been. She had to focus on what was, her job, her kids, her slow climb back to stability. But the lesson was burned into her soul forever. Real value isn't in what someone has right now, it's in who they are and who they're becoming. 6 months later, Valencia had saved enough money to move into a slightly bigger apartment in a better neighborhood. She'd been promoted at the marketing agency to administrative coordinator with a small raise. The twins were thriving in preschool. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was honest, and that meant something. One afternoon, Valencia was walking through Millennium Park with the twins when she saw him. Darius was there with Simone, holding hands, laughing at something she had said. They looked like they'd stepped out of a magazine, successful, happy, in love. For a moment, Valencia considered walking the other way, avoiding the interaction altogether. But then Darius saw her. Their eyes met across the park. He said something to Simone, then they walked over together. "Valencia, how are you?" Darius said with a genuine smile. "I'm good, really good, actually. These are my boys, Jaden and Jordan." "They're handsome," Simone said warmly, no judgment or competition in her eyes. "How old?" "Just turned 4. "Valencia, this is my fiancée, Simone," Darius said proudly. "Congratulations," Valencia said, and she meant it. "I saw the announcement online. You both look really happy." "We are," Simone said, squeezing Darius's hand. "Very happy." "How's the job?" "Good. Actually, I just got promoted. Nothing major, but it's progress." "That's great," Darius said, and his pride seemed genuine. "I'm glad you're doing well." There was an awkward pause. "Listen," Valencia said, her voice soft, "I know I've said it before, but thank you for everything you did for us. You saved our lives." Darius nodded. "You're welcome. Just keep building. Keep going forward." "I will." As they walked away, Simone leaned into Darius. "That was her, wasn't it? The one from before?" "Yeah," Darius said quietly. "You did a good thing helping her." "I did what felt right." Simone stopped and turned to face him, her eyes serious. "You know what I love most about you? You have every reason to be bitter, to be angry, to carry that pain around. But you chose something better. You chose growth. You chose kindness. I chose you."
They kissed softly as tourists snapped photos of the Chicago skyline behind them. That night, Valencia sat on her couch after putting the twins to bed. She pulled out her phone and opened her notes app. She started typing. Lessons I've learned. 1. A man's current situation doesn't define his future potential. Patience and support matter more than instant gratification. 2. Character is worth more than cash. A good heart will always be more valuable than a fat wallet. 3. Struggle builds strength. The hard times shape you into someone better if you let them. 4. You can't build real happiness on someone else's money. Self-respect comes from what you earn, not what you're given. 6. Some chances only come once. When you throw away something real for something shiny, you might never get it back. 6. Redemption is possible, but consequences are real. You can start over, but you can't erase your choices. Valencia saved the note and put her phone away. She would never have Darius back. That ship had sailed. But she could be better for her children. She could teach them the lessons she'd learned the hard way. She could show them that real success isn't about designer bags and luxury cars. It's about integrity, hard work, and being someone your future self will be proud of. And maybe, just maybe, if she kept building, kept growing, kept choosing better, she'd eventually find her own version of happiness. Not someone else's mansion, not someone else's money, but something real, something earned, something sustainable. The road ahead was long, but Valencia Martinez was walking it with her head up this time. 2 years later, Darius and Simone stood at the altar of a beautiful church on the south side, the same neighborhood where Darius had grown up, the same streets where he'd struggled. He wanted his wedding here, wanted to bring joy and celebration back to the community that raised him. Friends, colleagues, and mentees filled the pews. Even Jamal, the friend who had given Darius his first real opportunity, was there serving as best man. "I do," Simone said, her voice clear and strong. "I do," Darius repeated, his heart full. "You may kiss your bride." As they kissed and the church erupted in applause, Darius felt something profound. Peace. Not because he had won against Valencia, not because he had gotten revenge or proven anyone wrong, but because he had chosen to become someone better than his pain. Someone who helped instead of hurt back, someone who built instead of destroyed. Success, Darius had learned, wasn't about showing off, it was about showing up for yourself, for your people, for your purpose. From struggle to strength, from heartbreak to healing, from broke to blessed. Valencia never remarried. She poured her energy into her boys and her career, eventually becoming a manager at the marketing agency. She lived modestly but peacefully, teaching her sons about character, humility, and the importance of seeing people's hearts instead of their wallets. She never forgot the lesson that cost her everything. Real love is priceless, and you never truly know someone's worth until it's too late to claim it. The lesson from this story: never judge someone's future by their present circumstances. The person you reject today might be the blessing you regret tomorrow. Struggle doesn't define you, how you respond to it does. Character will always outlast cash, and real success is measured not by what you gain for yourself, but who you become in the process. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, moved you, or taught you something valuable, please hit that like button, drop a comment sharing what you learned, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss our powerful stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling right now, someone who's been rejected, someone who needs to know that their story isn't over yet. Remember, your setback is setting you up for your comeback. Keep going, keep building, keep believing. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next story.